The Indianapolis Colts are officially 2-0 with the Tennessee Titans next up for week 3. Can the Colts keep up the momentum? Will Cam Ward and the Titans play spoiler? And how do you, the fans, see things playing out in this AFC South clash? Well, let's talk about it. Welcome to the Horseshoe Huddle Podcast, as always, presented by Indianapolis Colts on SI.com. I'm Drake Wally, co-deputy editor of the site. Co-host of the show. Noah's over here. He is the analyst. He's an analyst for the site and fellow co-host. You know, Noah, last week was a pretty amazing game. We already mentioned, and we'll kind of dive into it a little bit more. Things definitely fell in Indy's favor. Yep. And after reading Joel Erickson's article about it from Indy Star, there was a little bit of deception from Indianapolis to force a second field goal. But how are you doing, man? This is a matchup that on paper should be an easy W, but as we know, divisional matchups, man, the records don't seem to matter for each team going into it.
Yeah, it's something that you go into the season and you're circling all these divisional matchups because they weigh a little bit heavier when you're looking for postseason berth and things like that. And I kind of when you were starting the season off, you were kind of wondering what position these two teams would be in. Cam Ward with the new look Titans offense, and then you've got the Colts who pessimism was at an all-time low, right? Like nobody was optimistic about what this would look like with Daniel Jones as the starter. I think through 2 weeks, those storylines have been kind of set in motion, and you've got what seems to be maybe an overachieving Colts team right now going into week 3 here with the Titans, and a Titans team that's really struggling to find their footing. So, this is the game that you would hope the Colts would be able to handle the game, but it's also like the type of game that the Colts of the past few years have not been able to handle, right? Where they're going up against some of these worse opponents and they play a little bit down to that level, get caught, and then they don't end up getting the W in these matchups where you think that they should be favored. So, yeah, it's a lot. Some could call it a trap game, but I feel like the Colts really haven't even earned the right at this point, just 2-0, to call anybody a trap game right now. So this is one that hopefully they're taken pretty seriously as they go into this matchup.
Yeah, and these are the games that matter more than anything else. You could literally go 6-11, and if you win every single one of your divisional games, you're in. You're in. So these games matter so much more, and really this division appears to be very lackluster through the first couple weeks. Jacksonville dropped a big one after starting hot. Houston looks completely out of sorts. And then you've got the Titans who have a brand new quarterback. And in my opinion, I'm not going to go in too hard on Brian Callahan. I think that he's a lot of bark and very little bite when it comes to being a head coach. So we're going to have to see there. But Teresa Willis-Johnson, Tracy Johnson, Tony Pelletieri, thank you so much, guys, for joining in. I'm going to try to seem a little more invigorated. I'm not feeling so well, but we're going to keep it going here. So first and foremost, we got to go over this matchup against the Broncos. Now, this game really, the Colts had to fight pretty hard just to stay with Sean Payton's offense.
Yeah.
The defense looked bad. Not bad per se, but if Bo Nix doesn't have an errant throw that goes way over his receiver's head and Cam Bynum doesn't take that ball away, probably talking about a different outcome.
Yeah.
But they made plays when they needed to. The offense, of course, is literally one of the top units in the NFL right now. I know it's 2 weeks, but no one could have told you that Daniel Jones would have a top 5 offense around him and that he was the catalyst for it. So tell me a little bit about what you thought about the defense in this game, the offense. What do you think that they need to come into this game or take from that game into their bout with Tennessee?
Yeah, just that level of confidence that you came out with. I know it was tighter than you would have liked, and maybe by all appearances there at the end, maybe they didn't deserve that one because of that penalty that kind of bailed them out there at the end. But yeah, a win's a win. Like we mentioned, nobody's going to remember this week 18. I feel like they should have that out of their minds already, the way that they won. They should know that they're sitting in there 2-0. They should feel confident. But same with that same sense of urgency and focus on the preparation to get through this matchup as well. Yeah, we mentioned even going into the Broncos game that because of that beatdown that they put on the Dolphins in week 1, they were looking more confident, feeling more confident. They broke that 11, 12-year long curse of not opening a season with a win. So yeah, overall, just I don't know, the vibes, the juju with Indianapolis Colts feel better than they have in the past. Shane Steichen's talking about how good the camaraderie is. Players are talking up other players in the locker room and the post-game press conferences. It does feel different than it's felt in years past. Kind of that questioning of some decisions from upper management, and you're not dealing with a quarterback controversy. It's funny how quickly that really went to rest when everybody was, not anybody on the Colts necessarily, but fans were all upset about the Anthony Richardson benching or them going with Daniel Jones, but nobody's talking about that right now. And it's cool that they've been able to put all that in the back burner and they were able to focus on what was ahead. And going up against a Broncos team that was probably a better matchup for you, a better litmus test of where you were at than what you experienced with the Dolphins in week 1, I think should just give you that extra step of confidence as you're walking in here to week 3 into a key divisional matchup.
Yeah, and we'll just give a brief rundown of the stats here. Of course, Daniel Jones had 316 through the air. Taylor had 165 on the ground. Jones had 2 all-purpose touchdowns. Taylor had a receiving touchdown. Of course, he hit 1, 2, 3, 4 receivers had 4 or more catches. Okay, and then Jonathan Taylor and Adonai Mitchell had 2. Mo Alley Cox had 1. The defense was honestly not good if we're talking about making a QB uncomfortable. They had 5 pressures, 0 sacks. I don't give a crap if Leatu Latu wasn't out there.
Yeah.
It probably doesn't change much. There was very little efficiency from up front. So you're kind of looking at that like you can't do that against any NFL team. Even if it's a rookie and a struggling offense. So the Colts do have a very, very much a golden opportunity here to bounce back. So real quick comment from Patrick Rye. I love this. I'm old enough to remember most of us are, Patrick, but I'm old enough to remember when Peyton Manning recommended Brian Callahan for the head coaching position for the Colts. Thank God we dodged that bullet. Just to get this out of the way. The reason I just look at Brian Callahan and I'm like, you don't have the respect. I don't think he's got the respect of his players. Maybe I'm wrong, but he also is just a loudmouth. Like the guy is more known and more notable for how he talks to the press and all of the cuss words he drops than winning or doing literally anything else. So I look at Brian Callahan like I really hope that Shane Steichen absolutely just puts a beating on this football team. So, but thank you so much, Patrick. And of course, we got Camacho Joe, Paul Wilson. So when we are talking about this matchup, just to kind of wrap it up, it's really awesome so far because you've had a bad team who probably is going to lose by at least 10 points tonight to the Bills in the Dolphins. And then you switch that up to this team that is a perennial playoff contender in the Broncos. Yep. And yes, things went their way. Okay. Spencer Schrader wasn't, you didn't ask him to go out there and kick a second field goal. He just did it. All he can do is what's in front of him. So confidence, like Noah said, it is absolutely at an all-time high. So we are going to go ahead and just dive right into this. So we'll talk right now about what to expect from the Colts offense. So Noah, this defense from Tennessee has historically been the strong suit. Yeah. Like it's been what you look for, the toughest matchup, what you have to game plan for more than anything. It's definitely not Brian Callahan's offense. So this defense, though, they've been kind of below average against the pass, but they have straight up been awful against the run. They're one of the worst in the NFL. Tell me a little bit about this defense because there are still some guys, mostly Jeffrey Simmons, up front.
Yeah, Jeffrey Simmons, I think you're watching out for. Xavier Woods in the safety room. Xavier, I really like their safety room actually with Amani Hooker as well. Yep. So there's definitely some people on that defense that you're watching out for and trying to avoid. Maybe some others that you've been watching on film and are trying to target a little bit more. So yeah, their whole defensive front, even Tavondre Sweat up front, him and Jeffrey Simmons combined up there in the middle, you would think that through the first 2 weeks you'd have a little bit more of a stout run defense, but based on what they've shown, I think that's an area that the Colts can try to take advantage, maybe do some more outside runs, maybe create a little bit point of pressure on the outside with some read option plays with Daniel Jones and really because you really haven't seen that this year in terms of the designed QB runs that I think he's very much capable of doing outside of the QB sneaks. We haven't seen that when I think that's very much in Shane Steichen's playbook to dial up and in Daniel Jones' arsenal. So maybe we see a little bit more of that to create some pressure on the outside when you're running those run plays. But yeah, I think there's matchups all along that Titans defense that you can take advantage of in terms of your offensive playmakers and in the run game. So we saw Jonathan Taylor really get let loose last week, made a big play in the pass game. but really had that explosive run really at the end, got 25, 23 carries. I think by the end of it. So he was used really heavily in last week's game. And I expect, I mean, you don't want to lean on that, right? Like I think we mentioned that all off season when you brought in DJ Giddens, Khalil Herbert, even though he's not with the team. I mean, you brought in all these guys to kind of take that workload off Jonathan Taylor. But when you have a guy going out there and playing like Jonathan Taylor's playing, it's really hard to not get him the ball 25 times like you did last week. So, yeah, I expect to see more of Jonathan Taylor. Maybe you do rotate in some, maybe you get some Ulysses Bentley, maybe Tyler Goodson's going to be ready to roll. And then obviously some more DJ Giddens in the mix up as well. So, yeah, I expect him to attack with the run game, but I mean, the first 2 weeks we expected them to attack with the run game, and they came out in the first drive and we're really opening the ball up and throwing it and going behind the arm of Daniel Jones in those first few drives. So as much as we expected them to be a run team, as much as I think they're capable of being a run team, I think a lot of defenses are going to have a lot to handle throughout the rest of the season because they've been putting on tape how much they're willing to really balance that offense out and rely on both sides.
Yeah, and Tennessee's defense they really did their job against Bo Nix. Okay, they did their job against Bo Nix in week 1, but the Broncos won that game because they ran the ball right down their throat very efficiently. So now you're fast forwarding to week 2, and I understand that a big portion of this was Puka Nakua's wild 45-yard rushing touchdown, but I mean, you know, that's beside the point. If you take that away, all right, you still have 24 carries for 104 yards. So that's still a pretty solid number. I mean, if you're allowing 4.5 yards a carry, and there's more than 20 carries, that's going to eventually pile up. And so Kyron Williams had 17 for 66. Blake Corum had 5 for 44. Puka Nacua and Corum had touchdowns. I mean, it's just it wasn't as encouraging the second time from the Titans. Now, they do take away the football from quarterbacks. So we'll say that because even Stafford threw a pick. But, do you expect this to be another Jonathan Taylor game? Or do you think that, Tennessee – because, hey, Shane Steichen showed in the end of that Broncos game, he doesn't give a crap if there's 36 guys in the box. He'll still hand it to Jonathan Taylor. So what are you looking for from Jonathan Taylor? Or do you think that they're going to kind of game plan more for Tennessee to be ready?
I think obviously Tennessee is going to be game planning for that, but when you have the threats that you have on the outside, like the Colts do, and with as well as Daniel Jones is playing, you can't completely sell out and stack the box like the Broncos say we're doing at the end of the game when Shane Steichen was going for those second and third down runs to set them up for a 60-yard field goal. You're not going to see those stacked boxes throughout the game because of the threats you have on the outside. So I think that's just always going to open you up to be a Jonathan Taylor buffet when you see a lighter box and you just have that option to hand it off to Jonathan Taylor and watch him go. I think you want to say that his workload's going to decrease, but like I said, when you've got him playing like that, I think it's going to be so situational. You're probably going to be put into some situations throughout the year where you're down and you need to throw to stay in the game. Then those are the games that you're not going to see Jonathan Taylor with those 20 plus carries or 20 plus touches or whatever he has. I don't expect that to be one of these games this week. They shouldn't be in a situation where they're having to play catch up. If they are, there's more conversation to be had than Jonathan Taylor's usage. So yeah, I expect that they should be up or be at least have the whole playbook open to them at all times. So we should see another healthy dose, probably maybe not 20 carries, but maybe around that 17, 18 touches for Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah. And I don't think that, unless the pass defense you're facing is just absolutely horrible and can't cover anybody, and Jones is just out there stringing together 5 or 6 completions at a time, you're going to lean on your best football player. I mean, if we look at both sides of the football, I don't know if there is a more complete star outside of maybe Quentin Nelson. So, I fully expect them to. Is there a receiver or a pass catcher that you foresee having more of an impact? Because so far, Daniel Jones, man. In fact, I got to do this real quick. Give me one moment. I've got to pull up just the sheer stats on who's caught what. So receiving through 2 games, I'm going lowest to highest. You have Mo Alley Cox with 2, Adonai Mitchell with 4, Josh Downs with 8. By the way, that's 4 catches a game. Very solid number. Then you go to Jonathan Taylor with 5. He's caught all 5 targets. Alec Pierce has 5, but for 104 yards. Nothing shocking about that. But then you've got Michael Pittman and Tyler Warren with 10 and 11. So this is an offense that is spreading the wealth very effectively. Do you think that there's a pass catcher or two that stands out the most to you in this matchup? Because they do have a defense, man, that I think has the potential to lose to one guy, but the Colts haven't been doing that. So
in terms of pass catchers, I think everyone wants to hear Tyler Warren continue to go off. I think this is actually one of those matchups where Tyler Warren might have his work cut out for him in terms of Amani Hooker, someone that can be in those zones or man up and take care of him. I think Cody Barton's a good coverage linebacker. Cedric Gray, their other linebacker, been playing pretty well. So I think in terms of Tyler Warren, he's still going to get his touches and he's going to be available. But maybe you want to target a specific corner who the Colts fans were all clamoring for a couple of off seasons ago in L'Jarius Sneed, a guy who did not play well last year, has not been playing well in coverage these first 2 weeks. I imagine the L'Jarius Sneed matchup will probably be Michael Pittman is probably the guy that we'll see on him most often. Alec Pierce, they'll be on the outside. So I think we talked about it last week, how we were looking at the interior for guys like Josh Downs and Tyler Warren to have big games. I think I'm looking back outside if I'm the Colts this week and trying to take advantage of some of those matchups on the outside, maybe targeting, number 38 over there on the other side of the ball.
Well, and it's really good to do that. And we've seen Daniel Jones kind of go against the grain and throw deep more. So I hope that that's the case. If I had to vote one guy is going to dominate, I would say it's going to be Josh Downs, because Daniel Jones started to actually hit him in the last game. He led the team with 6 catches. All right. So this was against a team that had guys like Pat Surtain and Riley Cooper. All right. So this wasn't a bad football team that Josh Downs caught 6 passes against. This is a bad football team. And I don't know. I think that if I'm Shane Steichen, I'm not necessarily saying let's not start with the ground attack, but if that box is loaded, man, they have led the way and opened up the ground by throwing the football and leaning on Jones's right arm. So we'll see.
Yeah, and what's really made this offense so efficient is, like you mentioned earlier, their willingness to give targets to so many guys and really spread that ball around. Tyler Warren and Josh Downs were definitely guys we highlighted last week, guys who didn't practice yesterday, and we were kind of keeping our eye on that and seeing what their participation would look like. I think Tyler Warren was back in a limited capacity today. It looks like he's trending to be fine. And Josh Downs was a full participant. So maybe Colts dodged a bullet and being able to retain their entire arsenal for this game against the Titans. But yeah, I mean, there's so many ways that I think you can attack this Titans defense if you're the Colts, just because of the plays that you've seen these guys make in the first 2 weeks. I think A.D. Mitchell has shown when he's on the field, they're willing to target him, and he's been coming down with those passes more often than he hasn't. So yeah, I really expect them to take advantage of all these guys. Josh Downs is another good shout. I do like Roger McCreary in the slot for the Titans, probably one of their better cover guys. So maybe that matchup isn't ideal, but when you have a guy like Josh Downs, he's going to be able to win some of those routes against Roger McCreary as well. And with the way that Daniel Jones is playing, you expect him to be able to find him. Yeah.
And so before we kind of get going here, we have 3 super chats. We'll hit these nice and easy. So Paul Wilson, thank you so much. You're always, just an OG. This could be the ultimate trap game. Plus we have won 4 straight against the Titans. Our defense was not good against Denver. So now I'm going to sound a little bit heated saying this. Sean Payton is one of the best offensive schemers that this league has. All right. He can go pretty much toe to toe any given game day with any defense. All right. Not to say he can't have terrible games. I mean, the Titans took the ball away from Bo Nix 3 times, but I just don't have the same confidence at all in Brian Callahan.
Yeah.
Now, I will say the Titans' offensive line is also incredibly suspect, and they allow Cam Ward is the 5th most pressured QB in the NFL. Baker Mayfield is number 1. He has 37. Ward has 34. There's only three pressures between those two. So Cam Ward, by the end of this game, could be the most pressured quarterback in the NFL. So we'll see. I personally think that every single game that any team plays, if they're good or look good and they play a team that doesn't look good, can always be a trap game, but especially divisional matchups.
Yeah, divisional matchup, I think, is what gets it. Those games are always closer than you expect them to be. So even if you're going into this thinking, hey, the Colts have played really well these last 2 weeks, Titans have really not looked good, you should go in there. You should handle business pretty easily. Maybe just subtract 7 to 10 points from what you think that differential is going to be, and that's probably more likely what you're looking at in terms of realistic outcome in the divisional game. So yeah, trap game. I don't think, like I said earlier, 2-0, you can't really afford to be in a situation where you can even think about having a trap game. You're still fighting for your life. You're 1 game ahead in the AFC South. It's that you're not banking. You haven't clinched anything yet. So yeah, it's definitely going out there, prove it. 4 straight against the Titans. Yeah, it makes sense. Just the way that even though the Colts have been struggling, the Titans have been in that same boat as well. But yeah, hopefully the Colts have found some stability here. I know it's 2 weeks in and just 3-4 weeks ago, there was outrage in the fan base, but maybe now things are starting to settle down. The Colts have found some stability where it seems like the Titans are still waffling a little bit.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Paul. We'll go ahead and get to Andrew Harmon that says, hello, Dolphins game. Interesting. So I don't know entirely what you mean, Andrew, but I'll guess. The Dolphins they have the talent. They have more than the Titans do, but it's even more of a problem if you do have the talent and you can't figure it out than if you don't have the talent and you're trying.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think the Dolphins, they have the biggest issues of any NFL team in the league right now. So anybody can beat the brakes off of Mike McDaniel until proven otherwise. And they're about to face the reigning MVP. So that game is bygone at this point. You got to let that one go. But I do appreciate the super chat. I just think that Tennessee's a far tougher matchup just because the Dolphins are in complete disarray. And then Andrew Harmon, again, thank you so much, man. We're stomping the Titans and squeezing by the Rams if we can stay healthy. Rams are a much different animal. They have more talent than I think any team that the Colts have played do at this point. Even Denver, Braden Fisk and Jared Verse are nasty. They're very nasty. Noah, what are your thoughts on the Colts stomping? We can make this brief. What are your thoughts on the Colts stomping the Titans, and what do you think it would mean if they even beat the Rams? Because they haven't had success against the Rams, in recent matchups.
Yeah, I mean, you obviously want to keep that going. I think beating the Titans this week would give you some flexibility where a loss to the Rams doesn't. Now, you're expecting a loss at some point if it comes against a superior team, especially if it's an NFC team. That doesn't hurt you so bad. So, yeah, you definitely want to handle business here first in week 3 because if you're sitting there 2-1, just lost to the Titans, that's already looking kind of rough, and you're going in to face another tough opponent against the Rams. You're back at 500, kind of where everyone expected you to be. All those good vibes and stability that you had with Daniel Jones, like playing the way he has, I feel like there's going to be a little bit of unrest again. So I think as good as the fan base is feeling and as good as the Colts players are feeling, you're really 2 games away from that kind of flipping back to where it was at the beginning of the season. So yeah, take care of week 3. Obviously a tough divisional game. Stomping the Titans, would love to see it. You think it should happen, but just it being a divisional game and kind of that Colts history. I know week 1, both of our predictions were kind of lower on the Colts because of the past history in week 1 of them coming out slow. Past history in divisional games says it's always close. Past history against weaker opponents says they're never going to beat them by as much as you think they should beat them by. So, yeah, I'm a little bit wary about the Titans game first before we even start talking about the Rams.
Yeah, very fair, very fair. Well, Andrew, thank you so much, man. Had a couple of elbow drops from the top rope there. Appreciate you. What to expect from the Colts defense? I already started my 5 keys to victory against the Titans, and what I like to do is I like to put all 5 out first and then just fill them in. And one of them is blitz the crap out of Cam Ward. Mm-hmm. You might not even have to. This offensive line is bad. They are really, really bad. And, I think that Indianapolis's defense is going to need – I think it's going to help to have Leatu Latu back. I think it's going to help if you can just get cohesiveness from the entire front. But what are you looking for here? Because I know every matchup can really be won or lost in the trenches, but this one has Colts trenches just defensive trenches especially written all over it, and that could win or lose the game.
Yeah, I definitely think you're looking at the trenches first. Maybe you're thinking about the secondary because of the way Xavier Howard played last week. Charvarius Ward's finally getting back, so keeping an eye on that, obviously. But yeah, the trenches. I think when you're talking about the Colts pass rush going up against the Titans pass blocking offensive line, you're very much talking about a movable or a stoppable force going against a movable object, right? So the Titans pass blocking has been devastating for the Titans the first 2 weeks. Colts pass rush, really, when they got those big sacks against the Broncos, even, it was Kenny Moore and Nick Cross coming off the edge and on those DB blitzes. You weren't generating a ton of pressure from your defensive ends. Kwity Paye, Latu. Samson Ebukam had a pretty good game week 1, but was really lackluster in week 2. So you're really not finding that consistent pass rush along the defensive line. This is a game where Latu's coming back, and you had all those discussions in week 2 about, hey, if he was in there, the Colts defensive line would have performed a little bit better. That pass rush would have looked better. Now's the time to see if it would, because you're really going up against a unit that you should be able to win some one-on-one battles with. What was it? John Ojukwu was called up from the Titans practice squad and played all 66 snaps last week at right tackle because J.C. Latham's out. J.C. Latham also didn't practice these last 2 days, so he might be trending. So you might be going up against a practice squad player starting at right tackle. You should be able to take advantage of that. You should be able to take advantage of Lloyd Cushenberry, who's been struggling in the pass blocking department the first 2 weeks as well. Dan Moore is the other tackle who's serviceable at best. Not trying to rag on the Titans offensive line too bad, but this is very much a matchup where you've got guys of high caliber, Latu, Kwity Paye, first round picks, DeForest Buckner. I expect him to win these matchups on the interior. I expect these guys to win these matchups on the outside. You're very much watching for that pass rush. And if it doesn't really take a massive step up in terms of production from what they've had the past 2 weeks, then you're really, really starting to worry, because this is about as easy as a test as you can get.
Yeah, and hey, the Titans, like, even with their starters, and look, we are very, very just straightforward on this show. Okay, unless I'm talking about Brian Callahan, but we're very straightforward on the show. And the Titans historically, you got to go back to the Ryan Tannehill, Derrick Henry days to find an offensive line that was competent. And you can have a bad one when you have literally a thoroughbred, the most dominant running back I've physically seen outside of maybe Adrian Peterson toting the pigskin. So this is not that same team. This team in recent years is post Tannehill, post Henry. They just haven't been good up front. So we'll have to see, but we got more super chats to get here too. You guys are awesome. Super Pony, this is a must win, no business losing, get it done. A lot of reasons why they got to win this, but first and foremost is they're already leading the division, even if it's just 2 games. The way that you stay on top is by just winning week after week, and especially against a team like Tennessee. If they lose to the Titans, like Noah said, there's way more discussions to be had, and all of a sudden people are looking at them like they're not legit.
Yeah, and I think Reserve Currency had a comment up there as well. This is a game that Indy must win. Right? If they're going to compete seriously for the AFC South, they have to win it for sure. He says too many times they find ways to lose a game like this one. That's the difference between 11-6 and 8-9. Mm-hmm. Very much so, right? If you're going to be a serious team, you have to beat teams that you're supposed to beat. And that's a situation, the Colts haven't been in the past. When you're talking about the AFC South, I think we had another comment about the AFC South and kind of what that picture looks at. Is that, that's Paul Wilson, that other super chat. So we can get into that also. Paul Wilson says, would we want the Texans to beat the Jags this week to put us in the best position long-term for the season? Or do you guys think it matters? The Colts are in such a good position right now, just by virtue of not even having played any division games. Nobody has played any division games, and they've already got a lead just based on what they've done the first 2 weeks. They haven't been in that position in a long time. So obviously handle the Titans here. Everything's contingent upon that. Obviously, the whole episode's going to be about what that happens. As far as long-term, I think I do worry a little bit more about CJ Stroud and the Texans, just because they've shown a more recent history of being the AFC South champs. Like you have to take down the champs to be the champs. Essentially, is kind of what I'm worried about more long term. The Texans, Jaguars. I know you have the curse; you can't win in Jacksonville, so maybe you worry about that and how that tiebreaker might swing things. But yeah, those two. how do you kind of feel about the Jags and the Texans and who you're more worried about long term in terms of? I know it's week 3. We probably shouldn't be talking about AFC South crown and what that battle's going to look like when we have a game against the Titans up here. But yeah, for Paul Wilson's sake here with that super chat, we'll go ahead and discuss that.
Yeah, thank you so much, Paul. Really appreciate that. It's critical. All the Colts need to worry about is not who the hell wins outside of this game. They need to go and win. That's all that they need to worry about because, like Noah said, they're in just a glorious position already in the AFC South because they haven't played a divisional game yet. So, but this next one here, so we'll go ahead and jump right to it. What will we expect from Tennessee's offense? So I'm so excited to talk about this one because while I know that there's X battles specifically with one man, the legend, the icon, Scotty Colt, a.k.a. Logan Schmidt, is universally hated by the entire state of Tennessee. So, there's a lot of discourse, a lot of battles on X, but I am very impressed with Cam Ward. I think he's going to be a great quarterback. Through these first 2 games, I've looked at his tape. Dude is delivering the passes. And in some cases with anticipation. His receivers they're just not doing it. His line isn't doing it. Noah, I think this one's pretty black and white. They got to run the ball. Yep. They have to run the football. If they can't get the ground game going, I don't want to say this team is screwed because you never know what could happen. But it's just like then you got to start worrying about passing more. The pressures are going to come. Anarumo's going to bring more. So what do you expect just right on the surface looking at this roster? Because it's a hodgepodge of guys outside of Calvin Ridley and maybe Chig Okonkwo that are out there trying to catch passes. And it's not really an encouraging pass catching group.
Yeah, as much as I down talked the Titans and their inability to pass block, their run blocking has actually been pretty solid.
Yeah.
Peter Skoronski on the line, Kevin Zeitler, these are solid run blockers. You can just run behind them and you can find some success. I know Tony Pollard's he's a threat as a running back. He's not the all-star that you have in there with Jonathan Taylor as the Colts, but he's definitely a threat that you want to watch out for. And then Cam Ward, I think, is a whole nother element that you have to add in the run game. We saw Bo Nix scramble around. He was doing more so to make some plays down the field with his arm, but you could very much envision a situation where Cam Ward is also a guy who's going to be scrambling around and could probably take off and get some yardage and also create some plays in the backfield. So, yeah, I mean, it's going to be one handling up front in terms of stopping the run. It's very much an area of the Colts defense that has been concerning. These first 2 weeks, Zaire Franklin, Joe Bocci not fitting the run very well. Your ends aren't tackling well, aren't containing the edge very well. So, that's the matchup that you're worried about the most, right? The pass catchers, they've got Tyler Lockett, Calvin Ridley, some possible threats, but not people that you're staying up at night over. But yeah, that run game is really going to be the forefront of that Titans offense when you're coming into this matchup. And definitely that should be where they're trying to attack the Colts with what they've seen on film. I would very much try to stress and try to make Joe Bocci and Zaire Franklin commit to their run fits early on in downs and hope that they make the right, or try to guess that they're going to make the wrong read. So yeah, it's a matchup that I'm going to be watching. I think Tony Pollard's probably going to find some success in the run game here.
I mean, he did with Will Levis as his quarterback.
Yeah.
Tony Pollard is forgotten now because he's in the depths of the NFL in Tennessee. But you also were there in Big D. Everyone's looking at you, including Jerry Jones up there, looking like Smeagol. Everyone's eyes are on you in Dallas, and he was making plays behind a great offensive line. So when he went to another team, you're like, what the heck's this guy going to do? He's still a good running back. He's shifty. He hits the hole hard. He's decisive. He's a good pass catcher, helps out a guy like Cam Ward. He's not necessarily the greatest pass blocker, but, you don't expect him to be. So I think that there is a chance that the Titans could find success. And I'm just going to go ahead and pull up the numbers because you got to pull up the numbers here. So we'll go the Miami game first, and then we'll go the Denver game. So the Colts beat the brakes off the Dolphins, and they still allowed 78 yards on 12 carries. Devon Achane had 55 yards on 7 carries. Okay. Then the Colts played the Broncos. Broncos definitely threw the ball better, but man, they still had 118 rushing yards on 24 attempts. J.K. Dobbins had 76 on 14. Knicks had an average of 6.7. R.J. Harvey was stopped all game, but this is a team that I personally think I would take Tony Pollard probably over anybody that's running the ball for the Broncos. I might take Achane, but they're kind of the same guy in a way. So it's like there's a chance, Noah, that Tony Pollard could break one. He could be efficient. Tell me a little bit about this Colts run defense, because I just think that the Titans are going to, if they can, they're going to try to run the crap out of the ball unless the Colts just get out to a really early lead very quickly.
Yeah. And this is the matchup you want to see them take the next step, not only because of the struggles that you saw the first 2 weeks, but because you don't really have that threat on the outside. You're not going to be super scared of Cam Ward throwing it. Just because of the pass blocking issues that they've had and their inability to have those playmakers on the outside. You're not as worried about guys like Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle in the Dolphins game. You weren't really worried about that. And then obviously Bo Nix was kind of throwing it all over the field on the Colts. So that really opened up the run game for the Broncos. This is a situation where you should be able to key on that run game from Tennessee early on in the game. I know Lou Anarumo loves to run just with 2 linebackers. Maybe you consider throwing a third in there sometimes, or playing a third safety and having Nick Cross like lined up at the line of scrimmage and keeping Rodney Thomas deep. I mean, it's just situations where you want to stack the box, right? You want to play in there tight. You want to have your corners tackling well. You want to have your linebackers really ready to go. I mean, Joe Bacci's dealing with an injury right now, so maybe this is a situation where I don't get. Cameron McGrone hasn't played well. Austin Jakey just got called up from the practice squad, just got elevated to the practice roster. Maybe he's a guy that sees some snaps. It doesn't seem like they want to play Shagun Alubi at all on defense. Chad Muma's really new to this team. The linebackers position is iffy right now. Even with Joe Bacci in there, he's not a great run defender at this point, or hasn't been the first 2 weeks. So you're struggling a little bit there. So maybe provide a little bit more support, keeping Nick Cross or Cam Bynum up there at the line, bringing Kenny Moore in to seal that edge. I mean, just doing all kinds of things, giving them some different looks. So so you can really give yourself a numbers advantage in the run game, just because that lack of a threat in the pass game.
You know, I absolutely love when someone fires me the hell up. Colts for life. All caps, baby. What's up, Horseshoe Huddle? Keep the great content coming. Colts fam here representing from Las Vegas. Let's go, Colts. This should be our year to do something great. Oh, dude. Inject that into my veins every morning when I get up for work.
That's the Bob Sanders profile pick. I like that.
Oh, my God, man. What a dude. What a dude. Colts for life, as always. I've heard you plenty on Twitter Spaces. You're a freaking legend, man. Thank you so much for joining us. But, yeah, man, like it's – the offense, the Tennessee offense, it needs to be kind of vanilla to have success, because anything can happen. Calvin Ridley, I personally think, has been exposed ever since he went to the Jaguars to a degree. So I don't think that he's the guy that he was, in his days with Atlanta. Yep. What to expect from this Titans defense? This defense is bad. They're bad. Okay. But they're not as bad against the pass, and they've shown an ability to take away the football. And I'm I'm right there with you that I have to say his first name, because otherwise Patrick's gonna have a field day. Amani Hooker, Patrick. Amani Hooker is a very, very formidable safety. And then I just had a brain fart. Who's the other one?
Oh, Xavier Woods is playing
That's
safety.
Right.
Playing some really good ball these first 2 weeks.
Yeah, those are guys that you have to account for, but I still think it starts and ends with Jeffrey freaking Simmons, who, by the way, is a top 5. I even argue some games this man is a top 3, defensive tackle. He had almost all the pressures against Bo Nix by himself. So this is a guy who will wreck your game plan. Is he Aaron Donald? No, but if you let him get in there and you let him get in the backfield, he's a chaos causer. So what do you expect to see here from Tennessee? This is their strong suit. It's not that great, but it is their strong suit.
Yeah. And Jeffrey Simmons, a guy who's historically been solid against the run, solid to above average against the run. He's a great pass rusher. Nobody's going to really argue that. But, it's pretty solid against the run. Devondre Sweat last year really solid against the run. So I feel like you went into the season as a Titans fan thinking you were kind of short up there in the middle. And I realize it's a small sample size, it only being 2 weeks into the season. So maybe that gets turned around and they kind of revert back to where they were at last year and they kind of pick things up. Maybe this is the game where that starts to turn around for the Titans and they do kind of shore up that middle. Those are two really talented dudes that you wouldn't really imagine if you see in this game on paper that you're going to run at. But just based on their performances the last 2 weeks, it seems like maybe that's something you can take advantage of. Draymond Jones also, I feel like, has been pretty successful as a run defender in his career on the edge. But yeah, this whole defense is really struggling with that. The linebacker Cedric Gray has been pretty good in run defense, but Cody Barton hasn't. Kind of similar to where the Colts are at, where you don't necessarily have great run defenders at linebacker. So yeah, this is just a defense where you have ways to attack them. Kind of you didn't necessarily think you would when you started the year because of where Tavondre Sweat and Jeffrey Simmons were. You would kind of think, hey, maybe it's just going to be an air the ball out kind of game. But yeah, just based on this run defense and where it's been, you want to see Jonathan Taylor going. Luckily, this lines up with the strengths of where the Colts offense is at right now, where you can take advantage of those run plays and really get the most out of Jonathan Taylor early on in the season too. So you're not too worried about wearing him down and you can get him going. And then, yeah, the Titans defense also, like we mentioned when we were talking about the Colts offense, Roger McCreary in the slot I like, but outside of that, their corners I think are a weak spot that you can attack. L'Jarius Sneed has not been playing well, so Michael Pittman, Alec Pierce, rotate in AD Mitchell, get him in there. I think they'll struggle with that a little bit. Really, with all those playmakers that you have on the outside, it's just really a situation where I think more so than you have in weeks past, you're really going to see the depth of the playmakers that are the skill positions that the Colts have and the different ways that they can attack you. I expect it to be another balanced game unless they just come out early with the run and the Titans are still struggling and can't stop that. I'd expect them to ride the hot hand there. But yeah, like you mentioned, yeah, it's not the best defense. So it's trying to, I don't want to eat my words on this when we talk about this on Monday, because we will definitely be talking about it on Monday. But I don't want to be sitting here saying it's hard to find an area where the Titans really have an advantage over the Colts on the defensive side of the ball. Because the pass blocking for the Colts has been pretty good, even though the Titans pass rush has been okay. And then, yeah, that pass coverage and the Colts passing offense has been great compared to that Titans pass coverage. So they should be able to find ways to attack them. They shouldn't be stunned when it comes to third down and four. You should have multiple ways that you can attack this Titans defense and really convert those third downs. So as much as it's a divisional game and it's going to be close, you should find ways to win here.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost a jinx to say this. There's so many ways that you can have success against Tennessee's defense. So many ways. But anything can happen, and the Titans are going to bring the pain. They are at home for the first time. They are not going to – they're at home for their first – they're at home for the first time in a divisional clash. So they're gonna fight. Like, that's one thing that I will give Brian Callahan credit for, because he has such a loud mouth and he's got that grit style that his dad had. He has these guys ready to fight. He has these guys ready to scratch, claw, do whatever the heck they have to do to win. So never, ever, ever sleep on the Tennessee Titans, please, because they can beat you. We have 3 freaking straight super chats, but I was going to let everybody know something funny. Just like investing in NVIDIA on the stock market, I did something that's just as sure as that to be a positive move, and I dropped Matt Gay. So in my fantasy league, I was appalled that I hadn't done that yet. But
you said just like investing, and I worried we picked up an ad partner and I didn't know about it. So.
Oh, no. Don't worry, pal. You'll know. If we pick up an ad partner, I can't leave my buddy out of there, man. But TJ Joe, thank you so much. Is Kwity Paye hurt? That dude's in a contract year. No, Kwity Paye is he probably wasn't worth a first-round pick. I think that the guy that was selected in the next round after him, Dio Dangbo, has more potential to be, just like we said about Jeffrey Simmons, a chaos causer. But he's a run defender. He's a pillar. He sets up the defense really well. He's got the tackle, and he doesn't get moved, but he does have 8+ sacks in the last 2 years, but he's not like an upper tier, probably never will be. Like Noah said, you've got what you got with Kwity Paye at this point.
Yeah.
So
you're glad that Kwity Paye is on the team, but yeah, you're talking about a 14th overall pick. You probably expect a little bit more. Even this 5th-year option, I guess it's not it's not a crazy contract number, but you would hope you'd get a little bit more juice in terms of pass rush, especially with how the rest of the defensive line is playing. You need to find that somewhere. Would have been nice if you could have found that with Kwity Paye. I don't think you're going to at this point, but still a solid part of the team that maybe you don't look at extending, but you're happy he's here this year.
Yeah, and then that just segues beautifully into Patrick's comment here. It's sad, and we'll make this quick because we do have other tabs to get to here. It's sad that they drafted an edge rusher in the first, and it seems like they'll have to draft yet another one in 2026, given the state of the pass rush. Patrick, I love that you brought that up. Kwity Paye was drafted in 2021, okay? And 2023, you signed Samson Ebukam. 2024, you draft Laiatu Latu. 2025, you draft JT Tuimoloau.
Yeah.
They are trying so hard to figure out an edge rushing group. And Latu has shown glimpses. Ebukam might not be the same anymore because of his very unfortunate Achilles injury. That dude was balling the hell out in 2023. Looked incredible. I don't think Indy. What do you think, Noah? Like, I just don't think that they have a solution. I think that they're actually fumbling around to try to create a good edge rushing room, and it's just not working so far.
Yeah, you obviously don't want to say that week 2 into year 2 of Latu's season. You have some stuff on tape that shows maybe he's not as immediately impactful as the Colts were hoping him to be. You wanted him to kind of grow, but he was drafted as like this refined, the first defensive player off the board. He was this refined pass rusher, was supposed to come in, give a little bit more of an impact. I think they liked what they saw his rookie year, but you'd hope if that was your saving grace as the pass rush, you would have something else. And they really have nothing to supplement with that other than DeForest Buckner up the middle. But yeah, you mentioned all the resources they've thrown at it. Tyquan Lewis, a former second-round pick, Kwity Paye, first-round pick, Dayo Adangbo, second-round pick, Samson Ebukam, they signed, Latu, first-round pick, JTT, second-round pick this year. This is a position you can't say they're not addressing it, right? Like quarterback, you can say, hey, you never went out and got your guy until you got Anthony Richardson. We had to wait 7 years for that. They try almost every year getting an edge rusher, and you haven't found a guy that's consistently get to the passer. JTT, a healthy scratch week 1 and a non-factor in week 2 is not a great start for a second-round pick. That also, like Laiatu Latu, like you see, it felt like Chris Ballard switched his tone and went for guys who are a little bit more productive in college and not necessarily these athletic projects that you have to bring along. So you want these guys to come in and be able to contribute early. We talked all offseason about how kind of that seemed like that was the draft strategy when you have Chris Ballard, Shane Steichen maybe on the hot seat. You need results quickly. You need rookies who can come in here and impact things right away. JTT playing 5 snaps in 2 weeks is not the greatest way to get that going with a second-round draft pick. So yeah, Latu looks like he'll be playing this week. This is the opportunity to turn that narrative around and really get the pass rush going against a really weak pass blocking unit.
Yeah, and then Patrick follows it up with, aren't we all glad Destin Adams used to be with Indianapolis Colts on SI, good friend and great at what he does for A to Z Sports. But Patrick, we were all on, not all, but a lot of us were on that L'Jarius Sneed train. Yep. I mean, we really were. Like, just like the Anthony Richardson train, you never know where the hell that the tracks are going to lead when you've got fog in front of the train. And, you don't have Trent McDuffie. You don't have Chris Jones. You sure as heck don't have Steve Spagnuolo's defense. I was telling Noah that this man, Steve Spagnuolo, the Chiefs winning all the time, up till this year. Everyone talks about Mahomes and the offense and Andy Reid. Man, that defense, dude, that defense was nasty. And so I don't think that he's got the guys around him, the scheme, the play caller. I just think that L'Jarius Sneed had to do more, and he's not doing good with doing more. So,
and at corners, it seems like it just seems like it drops off for somebody at a certain point, and you don't really get it back. Maybe we're having that discussion about Xavier Howard where it's dropped off and we're not getting that back. So luckily you didn't make the investment in Xavier Howard that you would have had to make in L'Jarius Sneed. So if you're going to find that out about a player, it's good that they're doing it this way. But maybe dodged a bullet on that one and went with some other guys.
Yeah, Patrick Doo-Doo Butter, you are ridiculous, man. I love it. And then, of course, just to address this real quick, Paul Wilson says, today's show is brought to you by Drake's Pythons, even though they are covered up. You guys are crazy, man. I love it. And then Patrick said something I can't even repeat on this show. So, all right. So we're going to go ahead and jump right into the X factors. Biggest Colts X factors. We'll each give one on defense. We'll each give one on offense. For me, defensively, it is Latu. I need to see this man go out there, and I need to see him get a sack or more or create pressures. In fact, it was Trevor Sakema of Pro Football Focus. There was an episode where him and Dalton Wasserman just kind of broke down the game. And he said something really interesting. Everyone was, including me, I lost it when Latu came up with a pick. But when you go back and watch it, after hearing what Sakema said, he said Latu kind of looked like he was just there when he wasn't supposed to be. If you look out there, he's like looking around. He's just there. Like, I'm not even sure 100% if he was supposed to be out there. Maybe it was Anarumo drawing it up. But look, that's probably the one pick that he's going to get for like the next 5 or 6 years. Okay, that does not happen in the NFL very often. So don't expect him to do that 2 or 3 more times. I want to see sacks. I want to see pressures. I want to see his bend, his get off the line, his speed. I want to see that be relentless against practice squad level tackles. And if it's not, I know it's just the 3rd game of the year, but you're starting to look at this guy like, what happens when you face elite tackles? What happens when you face guys that can put your ass in the dirt? So that's my defensive X factor. My offensive X factor is quite simply Jonathan Taylor. I really expect Jonathan Taylor to yet again have a big game. He typically does against Tennessee. But who are yours? No, let's hear it.
Yeah. So I'm going to give on defense. I'll start there. I'm going to give a real answer, and then I'm going to give somebody that we probably should have talked about on the defensive side of the ball, or at least a decision that should be made on the defensive side of the ball. So my real answer is Zaire Franklin as the defensive X factor. He needs to step up in the run game because that the Titans are going to try to attack them running the football. Run defense just hasn't been where it needs to be. Pass coverage also hasn't been where it needs to be with Zaire Franklin, but that's a different conversation. But run defense, he needs to take the helm there and get this run defense under control. And really, when something's coming, you need to be able to stop it. And I think he's going to be the guy that's going to be leading the charge there, especially when you maybe have Joe Bacci out and you've got a younger linebacker jumping in there. He's really going to need to be that leader and be that communicator on that side. Because Joe Bacci, the only guy that came over with Lou Anarumo from this scheme, said that Joe Bacci Zaire Franklin's been talking about how Joe Bacci talks just as much as he does to trash to the other team, like Zaire Franklin likes to do, and then just communication with the other guys on the defense in terms of those play calls. Without Joe Bacci potentially in the lineup, that's just one more thing that's going to be on Zaire Franklin's shoulders to really keep this run defense going. And then the other thing we should have talked about on defense is Mekhi Blackman and Xavier Howard. Who's starting? Yes. What's going on with that? There was a lot of calls for Xavier Howard to get pulled from the game at halftime. Just with his performance, that drive of 3 straight penalties in the red zone there didn't look good, and didn't look like it was going to get better. And I can't really imagine a situation where it does get better. Lou Anarumo famously reluctant to turn to young guys. Mekhi Blackman is definitely that, and a guy who hasn't been with the scheme for very long. Do they make that decision? Maybe the X factor is Lou Anarumo and him making that decision on benching a guy that frankly needs to be. Just based on the performance that we saw last week and going with a guy who has a little bit more promise in Blackman. If we're jumping to the offensive side of the ball, like I said, you took Jonathan Taylor. I think that's the obvious answer there because you should be able to attack him in the run game. I'm going to go with Michael Pittman, though, as one of these outside receivers. I think Alec Pierce can still have the kind of games that he's been having where he's going to be a threat deep down the side. A.D. Mitchell's going to get sprinkled in, but I think Michael Pittman's going to be your target share guy this game instead of Josh Downs, instead of Tyler Warren. I think you want to attack them on the outside because I think that's where they're the weakest. And Michael Pittman hasn't really been the featured guy in any game this season. I think this is his chance to really be a focal point of the offense and get this passing game going, to give a little bit more balance so the Titans don't come up and load that box like we saw at the end of the Broncos game.
Yeah, I mean, those are going to be guys to watch out for. Now, the biggest threats from Tennessee, offense and defense again. For me, I think that the biggest threat, I think it's going to be Tony Pollard. I mean, I was kind of leaning toward another player, but man, just this offense, they're bad. They're bad. Like, this isn't being mean. This isn't being biased. The Tennessee Titans offense does not have a lot of talent. So, you factor in that Tony Pollard is a, former 1,000-yard rusher. He's an impact player. He's a game wrecker. If you allow him to get one cut and get a step on you, that's the offensive guy. You got to stop Tony Pollard. If you stop Tony Pollard, you put more pressure on Cam Ward. If you put more pressure on Cam Ward, you're putting a lot of pressure on the offensive line, which has not helped him. So it's a 3-step process, but you got to, just like Taylor for them, you got to take away Tony Pollard. And then for me, I'm just going to say that it's a guy to watch for. I'm going to be very intrigued to see how L'Jarius Sneed plays.
Yeah.
I am not encouraged by how he's played since he joined the AFC South. I think that he has looked pedestrian at best. He's had his moments, but every freaking NFL player that starts has those. So I fully expect Shane Steichen to go right after him. Look at what they did to Pat Surtain. They're going to go after L'Jarius Sneed if they can.
Yeah. Okay. I'll start with offense. I wanted to say Chiga Okonkwo. He's a fellow RuneScape player, so I wanted to shout him out there. But I don't necessarily think that's going to be a huge threat. I think we need to talk about Cam Ward. Maybe we haven't given him the justice that he deserves in that conversation on this podcast about what to look out for. He's a dangerous player, and I think he can hurt you in the passing game. He needs to have those playmakers to be able to make those plays for him, and he needs some protection. But without that protection, he when he's getting pressured, he is a guy that can really be a threat. Even when the play breaks down. If you're talking about this Colts pass rush and their inability to finish plays, I know that's been that conversation around Latu. Latu is maybe he can create some pressures, but he hasn't been finishing those sacks really that often. Cam Ward's a guy that's really hard to complete those sacks on and really get those numbers up because he's somebody who can shrug off and evade defenders and really create after that. Much like Bo Nix, when I said that the Colts need to have a plan for if they pressure him and he extends the plays, the Colts very much need to have a plan on how they're going to contain Cam Ward. Try to keep him in the pocket if you can. Maybe this isn't a game where Samson Ebukam, Latu are trying to get a ton of sacks. Maybe this is a game where you just have them contain a little bit more on the edge and play it a little bit safer on the edge and let your interior do the work. Guys like Grover Stewart, Tyquan Lewis bumping against inside, DeForest Buckner obviously rushing up the interior. Maybe that's the game plan there because you should be afraid of Cam Ward's arm, but you should still very much be afraid of Cam Ward's legs. If we jump to the defensive side of the ball, let's talk about, and I don't want to be the commentator's jinx here and say Daniel Jones has not had a turnover this season. We know it's coming. It has to.
Yeah, it has to. Yeah.
Every quarterback has a turnover, and these Titan safeties are pretty good in Xavier Woods and Amani Hooker. And I feel like maybe if we see one, it's going to be from one of those two. So I'm gonna pick Xavier Woods as the guy to watch there as that deep safety. Maybe if you're getting a little overzealous and you're taking a deep ball shot like we've seen to A.D. Mitchell, Alec Pierce, Xavier Woods may just be keying on that and come away with a pick. So I would say he's my biggest threat to watch for.
I like it. I really do. Now we're gonna get to the big one. Final score predictions. I will let you start here. I've got I've actually got the prediction that I put right in front of me. So let's hear yours now.
Okay. I know I'm kind of going against what I've said earlier in the show, talking about, hey, this is a division game. Maybe take your score prediction and reduce it by 7 or 10. And that's probably closer to what it is. Maybe I'll end up saying that on Monday. Hey, I should have followed my own advice, but I am going to predict we'll go 27-17.
Okay.
Colts over the Titans. Maybe you do reduce that by 7 or 10, and it's really a 3-score game or a 1-score game or a 1-point game. And it's just a matchup. You should find ways to win on offense and you should find ways to win on defense. You worry a little bit about the creativity and the play extensions from Cam Ward. I'm sure that's going to give the Colts some problems at certain points, but I don't think that's going to be sustainable enough for the Titans to consistently put up points on this Colts defense. I don't expect the Colts defense to play as poorly as they did this past week against a Brian Callahan offense, like you mentioned, versus what we saw in a Sean Payton offense last week. So, 27-17 is what I'm going for.
Good Lord, Patrick, that's a big win right there. That'd be great, but I'm going 27-24 Colts, and I just, these teams play each other so competitively. Even with the lack of talent and Cam Ward's trying to figure out his flow, all that aside, I mean, this is still a divisional matchup, okay? They have tape on each other from last year.
Yeah.
There's still plenty of guys that were on that team while there's a different collection always, every team at least has a couple different guys, maybe not starters, but every team has a little bit of a different bag, if you will.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know, man. It's going to be close. I fully expect Cam Ward to compete. I think that I'll be honest, Noah, I think he's every bit of a first overall pick.
Yeah.
I think that he's got the legs, he's got the arm, he's got the accuracy, he's got the mind, he's got the discipline, the command of the huddle, the respect of his teammates. He even called his own offense mid. I mean, dude, he's a winner. He's got that winner mentality. And so I think he's going to come up with some plays, man. It might even be the best game he's played up through 3 games. But it's going to be all about that pass rush. It might even come down to Schrader's leg. You know, I just think it's going to be a close game.
Yeah. And I think this is the game where I know we talked about the Colts proving it last week. I think this is the game where the narrative is it either keeps going or it gets flipped entirely. I think even despite the strong 2-0 start, you played really well against a Broncos team. You've dominated the Dolphins. If you lose to the Titans, I think that's washed. And you're just worrying about the same concerns you've had with the Colts in the past. Then you maybe start to get in your head a little bit. Hey, maybe we didn't even deserve that Broncos win. Maybe Colts are really closer to 1-2 than they are to 2-1. Maybe that's the situation that you go on, or the Colts handle business like they're supposed to. They go 3-0, a big lead on the AFC South, or this early in the season in ways that they haven't done before. That's when you really start to reverse all of the narratives you've had in the past few years with the Colts, and you can really start talking about some bigger aspirations. But yeah, this is kind of the turning point in the season. It seems like it's maybe a little bit too early to have a turning point in the season, but I think this is, as far as narratives go, we're either back to where we started with a loss here to the Titans, or you keep the train rolling here with a win.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to see. But guys, that is our show. Thank you so much to guys like Paul Wilson, Andrew Harmon, Super Pony, TJ Joe, Patrick Rye. You guys were amazing. Thank you so much for the donations. It's always much appreciated. But we are more excited on this podcast about having you all here. You know, so thank you so much for being here. Don't forget to like the Horseshoe Huddle on Facebook. Follow Indianapolis Colts on SI. On X, we are at Colts_SI. Subscribe to the Horseshoe Huddle on YouTube. Click that bell to turn on all your notifications. If you want to listen to the Horseshoe Huddle podcast, no problem. Subscribe to us on Apple, on Spotify, wherever else you listen to podcasts. So with that being said, we will see you guys again right back here on Monday. And we're all hoping that Indianapolis takes care of business, because like me and Noah said, if they don't, you are looking at a game where everything that they've worked hard to build up here, all the optimism, all the hope, all of the all right, the fanfare, it will come crashing down. So they can't lose this game if they want to keep up that momentum. So until then, guys, have a wonderful Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Enjoy the game, and we will be seeing you all again right back here on Monday night. Take care.